Morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We are learning Mishnah Shabbos, Perek Zayin, chapter 16, Mishna Vav, Mishna 6. I'd like to dedicate this morning's learning in memory of my mother. Our learning should be an aliyah for the neshama of Shalamas Bas Reb Yaakov Eliezer. All right, we're still talking about fires here. If a non-Jew comes to put out the fire, sees the fire burning, and now he comes to put it out. He wants to come put it out. You cannot tell him, put it out. You cannot command him. You cannot direct him, ask him to do it. We don't tell him, put it out or don't put it out. I'm sorry. We don't say to him, put it out. We also don't tell him, don't put it out. We don't stop him. Because a non-Jew refraining from work on Shabbos is not anybody's responsibility. So if he comes, to tell him to put out the fire, that you can't do. Why? Because we have a prohibition to ask a non-Jew to do things for us on Shabbos that we may not do. That you can't do. You can't tell him to do it. But now, if you don't tell him to do it, he's doing it on his own, you got to stop him? No, you don't have to stop him because he doesn't have to keep Shabbos, and I have to make sure that he keeps Shabbos. If he's doing it on his own, then I don't have to stop him. Now, we have to discuss this a little bit. And the truth is that you're right. According to Torah law, you don't have to stop him. But according to rabbinic law, midrabanan, if he comes to do something for you, then you have to stop him. Even if you didn't tell him to do it. If he's coming to do it for you, you can't let him do it. So why here can you? So they bring down here from the commentary of the Tiferes Yisrael that the reason is because we assume that the non-Jew extinguishes the fire because he expects to be rewarded. So he actually extinguishes the fire for his own benefit. That's how they explain it here. The reason why here, generally if he comes into his house and he says, oh, let me put on the light for you. No, you can't let him do that. Here, we're letting him do it because of the fact that he's not doing, we don't see it as him doing it for you. He's doing it for himself because he expects some kind of reward. And, you're allowed to pay a guy, we had before something called Schar Shabbos, which means you can't pay a Jew for his work on Shabbos. Now, work doesn't even mean, even if he's not desecrating Shabbos, he's a waiter. He's not doing anything wrong. Serving you food, cleaning up the table, nothing wrong doing that on Shabbos. But you can't pay him for doing it. You could pay a non-Jew for that. You may, yes. A non-Jew you could pay. So now when this guy is coming to put out the fire, again, if he was doing it for you, that tell him to stop. Being that he's doing it for himself because he assumes he's going to get paid for it, that's why we don't have to stop him. All right. Then the Mishnah continues. Now let's say a katan, a minor, a boy under 13, a girl under 12, right? They come and they say, okay, hey, Dad, there's a fire in the house, and they want to go put it out, and they can be much younger than that, okay, and they want to put out the fire. Ain't shaymin. You can't listen to him. You can't let him. Because you have the responsibility for them not to work on Shabbos. Even your children who are bas mitzvah, you have an obligation to make sure that they keep Shabbos. And therefore, if they want to come and put out the fire, which we're not allowed to do, so therefore you can't let them do it either. Now, let me explain it to you here how they lay this out. There are commands that on Shabbos you shall not do any work, you, your son, and your daughter. This means that a father must stop his young children from doing malacha, meaning doing something forbidden on Shabbos, on his behalf. Okay? On the father's behalf. The Torah's prohibition, when the Torah says you got to make sure that your children don't do forbidden activity on Shabbos, is when they're doing it for you. Since we assume that a child volunteers to extinguish a fire in his home only because he knows that his father wants him to do so, the father must stop him. Okay? So that's a Torah law. The father has to stop him here from doing it. By rabbinic law, Even other adults who are not the father must stop a child from extinguishing their fire on Shabbos. Let's say it's the neighbor, right? The neighbor's house has a fire, and the neighbor's child now, and neighbor Ruvain has a fire, and neighbor Shimon's son, who's a child, who's under bar mitzvah, is a young child, wants to come put out the fire. Now, according to Torah law, the neighbor doesn't have to stop his neighbor's child from putting out the fire. I'm not responsible for that kid. But midrabanan, you do. Midrabanan, he's coming to put out the fire for you. You got to stop him. So at the end of the day, whatever case is of the child coming to put out the fire, you have to stop him from doing it. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you. Now